Hey, it's Steve. In this video, we'll take a look at the Athearn PS-1 50-foot double-door boxcars in N Scale, go through a few ways to help improve the coupling and operations of your N Scale freight cars, and take a quick look at the progress on the 3x5 N Scale project layout. So first off, let's take a look at these new 50-foot PS-1 boxcars from Athearn. The Pullman standard cars were a common sight across the country, with some 200,000 of them built from the late 1940s into the early 1960s. More than 70 railroads purchased the cars, so they are pretty much at home on any model railroad set during that time up through the 1970s and maybe even into the early 1980s. The Pullman standard cars were built in 40-foot and 50-foot varieties. The 40-foot cars had 6, 7, or 8-foot door openings, while the 50-foot cars would have either 8 or 9-foot openings or a 15-foot double door, as is the design of these Athearn cars I have here. Now, these Athearn cars are nice models with a good paint job and sharp, crisp lettering that is still legible despite the very small size. The walkways on top of these cars also have see-through gratings, but most of the other details on these cars are molded on and not added separately. While these cars don't have all the separately applied details of the higher-end cars from Athearn or other manufacturers, the molded-on details do look really good, and they are extremely durable, which I greatly appreciate. You're not going to be breaking off details handling these cars, and with some weathering, they're still going to look really good. I have 4 road names here: the New York Central, Great Northern, Gulf, Mobile, and Ohio, and Sioux Line. Athearn also offers these cars in Baltimore and Ohio, Tidewater Southern, Central of Georgia, and Illinois Central on this particular run. If you are interested in checking out these cars for yourself, I'll have a link in the video description below. The trucks on these cars do come with metal wheel sets, which are nice, and those help provide for better operation and help to lower the center of gravity of the car just a little bit. The body-mounted McHenry couplers were great and are now the primary couplers I use on most of my rolling stock. These cars do weigh in at 1.1 ounces each, and that does give them enough heft to operate well. The NMRA standard for N Scale rolling stock is half an ounce plus 0.5 ounces per inch of car length. Since a 50-foot N Scale car is just under 4 inches in actual length, that does equate to a total NMRA recommended weight of 1.1 ounces, right where these cars weigh in at. So these cars are going to run great right out of the box, but if you do enjoy switching operations, here are a few ways to help improve those operations with these or any other pieces of N Scale rolling stock, particularly when it comes to coupling and uncoupling the cars. Okay, so the small size and light weight of N Scale rolling stock can sometimes make switching operations a challenge. One of the biggest issues is getting your cars to couple and also uncoupling them without causing them to get knocked off the tracks. The best ways to help with both is to make sure your couplers are operating well and to add weight to your rolling stock. First, make sure the screw on your coupler boxes, if you have one, isn't too tight to where it is pinching the coupler box and restricting the movement of the coupler. You don't want the screw loose either, but sometimes just a quarter turn can help your couplers swing back and forth a lot more readily. Next, I like to add some powdered graphite to the coupler boxes and to the knuckles on the couplers themselves. After working the graphite into the coupler, your coupler should move more freely, allowing your cars to couple easier. You can see here how these cars, now with both couplers lubricated, couple together easily instead of one car just pushing the other car along. Even if the cars couple well, I still like to add weight to all of my cars. The easiest way to do this is to pick up a box of these stick-on wheel weights. Each weight is a 1/4 ounce, and they are the perfect width to fit inside an N Scale boxcar. The shells on these Athearn boxcars pop off easily, and usually you can just pop the frame out by pulling on one of the trucks and pulling away on one side of the body, but often a small flathead screwdriver makes that easier to do. Then you can simply stick 1 or 2 weights on the frame of each car. Here I'm just adding 1 weight to the middle of the car. If you add 2 weights, you can add 1 on top of each of the trucks. The added weight will help them to track better through turnouts, and the extra weight also helps the cars couple together easier and makes them more likely to stay on the track when you try to uncouple the cars. So instead of this, you end up with cars that operate like this. So if you have any issues with coupling and uncoupling your cars, try these tips. I do recommend picking up some of these weights because adding a little bit of extra weight to each of your cars can really help to improve the overall operations. Keep in mind that with more weight, you aren't going to be able to pull as many of them with a single locomotive, especially if you do have steep grades on your layout. Okay, so now let's take a look at these cars in action on the 3x5 N Scale layout project and talk about recent progress on the layout. These Athearn cars look great behind my Athearn Big Boy, and I have a link to that video about the Big Boy unit in the description below as well. So you can see a lot has been done on the layout since the last big update video. I've installed hundreds of trees around the layout and may still need to add some additional ones. I built most of the trees from super trees or seafoam armatures that have been painted and covered in ground foam. However, I eventually got tired of building trees and so picked up about 5 boxes of Woodland Scenics fine leaf foliage in fall colors. This is exactly the same thing. They're just the same seafoam armatures painted and covered in ground foam. Usually you can get several trees out of each box, and it's a lot more expensive to go that way for sure, but it does save a lot of time, and I do need to finish this layout project up soon. I've also installed a backdrop on the layout with a fall-themed mountain image that goes well with the layout. I used a pre-printed vinyl backdrop from trainjunkies.com and mounted that to a panel I built from 2 layers of 1/4-inch birch plywood that was framed up with some strips of poplar and stained to match the layout. This sits on the back of the layout and is currently held on by 2 nails I bent at a 90-degree angle that I can then rotate to lock the backdrop in place. I'll eventually install something that looks a little bit nicer, but works in kind of the same way. I've also added more details to the layout, such as these power lines. These are the kits from Woodland Scenics, which are easy to install. The power lines included with the kits do, though, go right through holes drilled in the cross arms instead of on top of the insulator. So up close, they don't really look as realistic as other options, but in N Scale, you can't really tell the difference from a distance. Having the lines go through the holes does make them far more durable, however. So these are a great option if you want to add some power lines to your layout easily. But if you do want a little bit more realism, you can always install poles and lines separately, with Easy Line being a great option for the power lines. That will look a little better, but it will require certainly a lot more effort. I've also added some wood panels to some of the side areas of the layout and have stained those to match the layout frame as well. A door has been added to the tunnel side, and so that helps to hide the tunnel during normal use, but you can easily open it and access the tunnel area if anything does derail there. I also added a light-up sign to the top of the mountain to provide for a bit of advertising, and that sign was made from a Miller engineering kit, which was easy to set up. It is battery-powered, and the power switch and batteries are located behind the access door on the side of the layout. Anyway, this layout project is nearly done, with the main project left to complete being the water feature. Once I get the waterfalls, lake, and river done, it will just be a matter of adding some final details here and there to the layout, and then this project will be wrapped up. So my goal is to have this layout fully completed by the middle of November. With luck, I'll have the final video on the layout build series out by Thanksgiving. But anyway, thanks for watching, and again, if you do want to pick up some of these Athearn Boxcars, I'll have a link in the video description below. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching. Bye.